the fear of rejection, how it silently controls your life and holds you back. Have you ever stopped yourself from saying something because you were afraid of how others might react? Have you ever hesitated to take a step forward, whether in love, your career, or your personal growth, because the thought of being rejected felt unbearable? Rejection is one of the deepest fears we carry as humans. It's wired into us from childhood. We are taught that being accepted equals being safe, that approval means we belong. And so we begin shaping ourselves based on what we think others will like. What will make us good enough to be chosen, loved, appreciated? But in doing so, we start losing pieces of ourselves. We shrink. We silence parts of who we are. We avoid risks, not because we don't want more, but because we're terrified of what might happen if we try and get rejected. But what if I told you that rejection is not what you think it is? That what you've been taught about rejection is actually keeping you trapped? Because rejection is not proof that you're not good enough. Rejection is redirection. It is life, the universe, your higher self guiding you towards something better, something more aligned with your path. But if you're too afraid to face it, you'll never experience the freedom that comes from moving through it. So let's talk about this fear. Let's break it down. Where does it come from? Why is it so deeply ingrained in us? And more importantly, how do we stop letting it dictate our lives? This fear doesn't just show up in one area, it's everywhere. It's why people settle in relationships that don't make them happy, too afraid to ask for what they truly want. It's why they stay in jobs that drain them, doubting if they're good enough for something better. It's why they avoid new experiences, new conversations, new risks, because what if they try and it doesn't work? What if they get rejected? But let's flip the question. What if you try and it does work? What if you take that step and it leads to something extraordinary? What if the risk you're so afraid of is actually the key to your biggest breakthrough? The people who truly succeed in life, in love, in anything, they are not the ones who never face rejection. They are the ones who face it over and over. And instead of letting it break them, they let it build them. They don't take it personally. They don't make it mean they aren't good enough. They see it as feedback, as guidance, as proof that they are in motion, that they are growing, that they are willing to take a chance on themselves. Think about your own life. How many times have you let the fear of rejection stop you? How many times have you wanted to say something, do something, try something only to stop yourself at the last moment? And what has that cost you? Now imagine a different version of you. A version that isn't afraid to hear no. A version that applies for that dream job, knowing that even if they don't get it, something better is coming. A version that expresses their feelings openly, knowing that the right people will stay. A version that takes chances, not because they're fearless, but because they've learned that rejection is not the end, it's just a step forward. Because here's the thing. Every single rejection in your life has led you to something else. Think back to moments when you were devastated by a no, only to realize later that it was the best thing that could have happened to you. Maybe you didn't get the job you wanted, but you ended up in an even better opportunity. Maybe a relationship ended, and at the time it hurt, but later, you met someone who truly aligned with you. Maybe you missed out on something you thought you wanted, only to realize that it wouldn't have served you in the long run. Rejection is not failure. The only real failure is not trying at all. So let me ask you, what would you do today if you were no longer afraid of rejection? Would you finally go after your dreams? Would you have that conversation you've been avoiding? Would you stop holding yourself back and start showing up fully as yourself? The answer to that question is the key to your freedom. Because the moment you stop fearing rejection, you start living. You stop waiting for permission. You stop playing small. And maybe for the first time in your life, you will realize that rejection was never your enemy. The only thing that was ever holding you back was the meaning you gave it.